Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. Today is stage 15 of the Tour de France. We're in back-to-back big mountain stages here at the 23 edition of the Tour de France. At 180 kilometers, about 115 miles in length, today's climbing stage is going to be massive. 5 categorized climbs. That's in the last 105 kilometers of today's 180 kilometer stage. But if you look in the first half, it's pretty hilly in the first half too. And they're going to start climbing straight out of the blocks with about 6%. But they don't categorize this climb, so it's the last 5 that you have to pay attention to. The last 2 climbs, they come just under 12 kilometers to go. The first one, 2.7 kilometers at 10%. Only a category 2 climb at the finish of the stage here that'll summit with just about 8-9 kilometers to go. Drop down the descent, and then with 7.7 kilometers, it's all the way uphill to a summit finish here on stage 14. That is 7%. So you know there's going to be big time action. I told you guys yesterday on the Butterfly Effect for stage 14 that I love Jumbo-Visma tactics, but I would be surprised if they're going to duplicate their tactics. Remember when we go back to Dauphiné stage 7, they rode the same tactics they did yesterday and won, of course, with Jonas, and then the next day they mixed it all up and lost the stage to Ciccone. So when I'm waking up this morning, I'm almost certain that Jumbo-Visma are not going to run the #1 most used tactic in the professional peloton when you have the strongest team and you believe you have the strongest rider in the race. That would be Jonas Vingegaard because he's wearing the race leader's yellow jersey. But is he stronger than Tadej Pogačar? I can't even tell. These two guys are so close and even on form that it's difficult. But all I know, Jonas Vingegaard, he looked better yesterday and more intelligently. Tadej Pogačar looked possibly a little stronger than Jonas, but Jonas looked more intelligent going up yesterday's Jouplan and then kept a 1-second gap on Tadej Pogačar when they crossed the line with that 3-second time bonus at the top of Jouplan. Now, today's race, it's packed. It's packed from start to finish. I'm going to do the best I can to bring it to you guys here on the Butterfly Effect. But when the racing starts, there's a little bit of hesitation. The riders are going curb to curb. Nobody really wants to get any action coming, and then bam, it starts. The action is fast and furious. We see Julian Alaphilippe flying down through the roundabout. When you see him shoot out of the roundabout, look at the box right there on the right side. Then he comes out. There's an island. He's got a bunny hop over the island. All the peloton has to bunny hop, and they're making basically 2 roundabouts with an island in the middle. It blows the peloton up, and it's split into 2 pieces. AG2R is back there chasing furious as they're trying to bring back the front half of the Tour de France peloton here in 2023. They'll bring it back, and then some more attacks will continue here on stage 14. Niels Paulette, the next rider to go up the road with about 150 kilometers to go. Niels Paulette gets a little bit of gap. When we look back, it's Julian Alaphilippe again going on the attack. He's got some company with Alexei Lusenko and Parapentre there from AG2R. Now, as these 3 riders will bridge up to Niels Paulette, we got 4 riders in the front here on stage 14 early. When we look back, Wout van Aert is drilling it. Guys, he is all over the place pulling hard. If I bring you further back to early parts here on this stage, he was pulling back there with Trek Segafredo, Mads Pedersen, that were going full gas on the front of the peloton, and they weren't even in the break yet. Now Wout van Aert's doing magical power on the pedals that we all wish we had while we're sitting on the Chesterfield, but we just don't have that. Wout van Aert will pull back this group of 4. We got a ton of riders up here. Then there's still attacks happening from the back. We look at the back of the peloton. It's my old teammate, Tony Gallopin. Man, from Trek Segafredo, does he got a suffer face on. He is pulling the big-time ugly face here, trying to stay just on the back of the peloton. You go up to the front of the peloton, that's Jumbo-Visma up there, Dylan van Baarle, and he's riding easy. So you know it's going fast back there when you see the expression from Tony Gallopin. Anyways, the group up front has gotten large. We're talking about 35-plus riders up there, and it's getting huge. Now, they'll come down through the descent with about 130 kilometers to go through this little town. We'll see the front group shoot past the town and then look right back there where Ciccone is, and Soler. Soler made it into this group too from UAE Team Emirates, but I'll get to that later. Now just look over to the fan there. See the guy in the black t-shirt with the polka dot hat? Well, he's going to change everything here at the Tour de France because the peloton's coming into the same town. And they're only about 15 seconds behind. Julian Alaphilippe with Lusenko had gotten away, so two guys are up the road. 35, give or take, riders are flying past this knucklehead wearing a polka dot hat and a black t-shirt. Now, as the group of breakaway guys go through there. The peloton's coming through. Look at the front of the peloton. The guy's got his hands stuck out there, I'm sure, with his holding his phone out there. As the front guys of the peloton come through, he'll pull it back, and then he extends his arm back out there. Well, that's Sepp Kuss from Jumbo-Visma. Sepp Kuss is going to nail this guy's arm, send his phone probably flying, and then Sepp Kuss is going to go left hard into the peloton. This is going to wipe out. We got guys and bodies all over the peloton. Nathan Van Hooydunk's wrapped up in there, but the race leader's yellow jersey and Tadej Pogačar, who were a little bit to the left, somehow found a magical gap and avoided going down while most of the peloton's held up back there. Now, I told you 35, 36 guys are up the road. They're flying up there. The gap is going to extend, and this is how that big gap starts going up the road. Remember, Wout van Aert's up there, already been pulling like a knucklehead throughout this stage 15, and Marc Soler in there. The Solerism and the Wout van Aertism are going to highlight today's stage for sure. But let's go back to the crash. We'll see all the bodies there as everyone's picking up their bikes, getting going, and trying to get back into the stage 15 of the Tour de France, and then look over to the guy who I believe caused all the crash in the black t-shirt. Well, now he doesn't have his phone, but he's holding a beer in his hand. Kind of interesting right there. Maybe someone needs to call that guy a knucklehead and keep him away from the Tour de France in future years to come. Up front, what's going on? Well, these guys have brought back Julian Alaphilippe and Lysenko just over the first KOM, where Julian Alaphilippe got maximum points, and then behind Ciccone got third with Paulus there from EF Education. Now, when we were going up this first categorized climb here, just about 105 kilometers to go, the gap, like I said, had started to extend, and it was Trek Segafredo and EF Education that have 4 riders in this front group that were pulling hard to bring back Julian Alaphilippe. We go back to the peloton. Okay, Jumbo-Visma's riding the front, but remember, the big guy, Wout van Aert's up there, and they've had 2 riders crash. Sepp Kuss went down, and Nathan Van Hooydonk went down. That's 2 riders that could possibly be out of the race right now, and you got Wout van Aert up the road. That means Jonas Vingegaard might be in a dilemma here, having his team already reduced basically in half after that crash, and Wout van Aert being in the front group. Now we're coming into the second categorized climb here. It's the Col de la Croix Fouille, and this one's a hard climb. I've done this one in training. I've been there with training camps. It's a marvelous climb, but it's definitely difficult. Things start getting interesting in the breakaway up front as we see the tack that Mark Haller from Bora Hansgrohe was already up the road. Well, then the next tack's going to come from a Tour of Switzerland, 3-time Tour of Switzerland winner, Rui Costa, my old teammate from Lamprey, and the 2013 Road World Champion. Now he's going full gas. He'll catch Mark Haller, then he'll distance him and start going solo. That's not going to stay out there for too long, though. He'll get brought back before the top. So let's go back down and focus on this group of 30-plus riders. Well, Paulus is having a hard time. He's already at his team, EF Education, pulling like crazy, trying to wrap things up here on stage 15 so he can get maximum KOM points and extend and hold on to that race leader's jersey that he's borrowing at the moment from Jonas Vingegaard. So he's got to get some points if he really wants to keep the jersey. But you look at his jersey completely unzipped, then he's going to get popped out the back, and that's it for Neilson Paulus. He's going to get a total of 4 KOM points here on stage 15 of the Tour de France. Now, things are getting exciting back in the peloton because Jumbo-Visma now started to pick up the pace. You look at the peloton, it's starting to string out, and you know guys are hurting coming out the back because we're going to see Egan Bernal coming out the back, and Christophe Laporte's work is done for Jumbo-Visma as he's getting dropped. Up front, Dylan Van Barley's going to town right here on the Col de la Croix Fouille as he's trying to extend and hurt the peloton. He's got it all single file back there. Let's go back up to the front because things are starting to get exciting as we come up to the KOM. We're going to see Ciccone get maximum points here on the second KOM here on stage 15, but Wout van Aert is getting second. They'll go over the top together, and then they're dropping down the descent. We look at the time gap. They had a maximum of 8 minutes throughout this stage 15, and they're still really continuing because the pressure's put on in the back there. But when they finish the stage and it's all said and done, this front group's still going to have a 6-minute gap. And when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, when it got up to 8 minutes, guys, I'm just sitting there like, what is Wout van Aert and the Solerism doing up there? I mean, I only got 2 guys called the Solerism and the Wout van Aertism, and they're both in the break. This is a magical day for me while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield. Well, we're going to come into the third climb here at the Tour de France stage 15, and we're going to see the attack by Marc Soler. The Solerism's throwing an attack as soon as the Col de Arves starts proper. He's going solo. I'm sitting back like, what are you doing, man? I'm losing my hair here with excitement and joy and wondering how much bigger of a knucklehead you can be when you got the race leader, Tadej Pogačar, in the group group behind, and you gotta believe Wout van Aert and Soler is going to be needed at some point in time throughout this year's Tour de France, but they're going for the stage win, I guess, because the gap is massive. Soler's going full gas, going up Col d'Arves. And you look, it's Ciccone from Trek Segafredo. He's used up most of his teammates as he's trying to pull back Soler or at least keep the group together. It's 600 meters to go to the top of the KOM here at Col d'Arves. Wout van Aert throws in attack. Guys, I'm not making this up. This actually really happened. Wout van Aert's thrown in attack. He's been pulling all day, pulling on the front of the climbs, pulling at the kilometer zero, pulling, tacking, doing everything. Now he's attacking with 600 meters to go on the third KOM here of the Tour de France. He's got some company. Chris Nylands there from Israel Perniertek's locked on his wheel. Just a little further behind him, that's Wout Poels from Bahrain Victorious. He's going full gas. He'll close up to those two, put three guys up front at the top of the KOM here, the third KOM at the 23 Tour de France, stage 15. That's going to be Soler going over the top. He'll go over and just drop down the back. As we look at the three chasers, Wout van Aert comes over second. Now they're going to bridge up to Soler coming down the descent. Once the four riders are together, we see Marc Soler having a little bit of problems through the curves. Then all of a sudden, we see Chris Nylands. He calls up the motorcycle behind that has the water in the back, trying to get a water as they're going through the left turn. Looks like he tapped the handlebar of the motorcycle or something, then went down and crashed hard. When you're sitting on the Chesterfield watching it live, you can literally hear the crash. It was so loud coming through the pictures there on GCN. Now, all of a sudden, we look again at Chris Nylands, and we see the replay, and you realize he got it a little bit under control and then lost it. So he'll get up and he'll be fine here on today's stage 15, but he's no longer in the front group with a chance to win stage 15 of the Tour de France. Up front, those three riders are extending the gap to the chasers behind. Now we'll go back up to that Col d'Arves because I forgot something coming down the descent. There was about a dozen riders there in EF Education's Rigoberto Urán was one when they went over the KOM. They come down a descent, they went into the left bend. Rigoberto Urán along with Chris Hamilton from DSM crashed on the side of the road. So now that gap behind the three leaders is extended out to about 50 seconds to a minute. We see the peloton go over the top. It's getting kind of shattered back there. If I backed it up on one of the climbs before, I'll show you that it was Davide Gaudu that was throwing out an ugly face there from FDJ going up the second climb here on stage 15. But now he's still in the front group. Is getting reduced down in size, but all the GC contenders are still locked in when they went over Col d'Arves. Two more climbs left here at the Tour de France, and we got about 50K to go for the peloton. Now let's fast forward and go back up to the three guys who are trying to vie for the stage victory here at stage 15 of the Tour de France. These three guys, Wout Poels, Wout van Aert, and Soler. They're going full gas. They'll drop down one last descent before they're getting into the last two climbs left here at the Tour de France. We got about 17 kilometers to go, and the Solerism cannot hold the wheel of Wout van Aert. He's getting gapped off, who has Wout Poels. So we got double Wouts up front and one Solerism chasing full gas. Soler's doing everything he can. We're coming into the penultimate climb here with 11.5 kilometers to go. As the climb starts, look at the Solerism. He's just about caught back on, and then Wout Poels, Bahrain Victorious, throws in attack, and we see the big guy, Wout van Aert, can't follow it. Just as Wout Poels is accelerating, Wout van Aert's coming backwards, and Soler's catching Wout van Aert. Then Soler's going to drop Wout van Aert too, and we got three guys all chasing each other with Poels going full gas. Soler in the middle, and Wout van Aert is him chasing third position. We go back to the peloton. Things were getting exciting as we're coming in the penultimate climb. We see Wilco Kelderman, Jumbo-Visma going full gas, throwing everything he can and to start this last penultimate climb. But they're still got the little uphill rise coming in the climb. And look out the back. Who's back there? There's 10 guys back there. It's Simon Yates. Jaco Alula's having a hard time. Luckily, he's got some teammates wrapped around him trying to bring him back in to start the penultimate climb up front. Now, Jumbo-Visma win the battle coming into the second to last climb here. As the climb starts proper, though, guess what? UAE team members go to work with Mikhail Berg. Mikhail Berg's not known for being a big-time climber, but he's putting on a show here on stage 15 as he's taking the front away from Wilco Kelderman and Jumbo-Visma. He's got some company because he's got Groschartner near him. Rafael Maika's there. Adam Yates is just behind. And we got Pogačar, of course. Now, as the climb starts proper, look at Pogačar. It's time to take the gloves off. He's ready to go to work on stage 15. Sits up, pulls off both gloves, throws them over to the side. Spectator there's got himself a nice little gift here from Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian #1 ranked rider in the world, here on the Butterfly Effect, and we're on the penultimate climb. Now, UAE team members are drilling. They'll go go up over the top of the KOM here, and we'll look. It's Tom Pidcock. Ineos is having all kinds of problems off the back. Let's go up to the front where we see Wout Poels going over the penultimate KOM here, and he's got about a 30-second gap on his two chasers behind. Wout van Aertism has caught the Solarism and dropped the Solarism, so Wout van Aert's going over second at this KOM. Wout Poels will do full gas, dropping down. He'll start the last and final climb with about 7.5 kilometers to go. You see him go over to the side. He'll grab some ice, throw it under his jersey, and then he'll start going to work here trying to win stage 15 because Wout Poels doesn't have a Grand Tour stage victory on his Palmars, even though he's won LBL. Well, he's won a lot of big races, over 20 big races in his career, but not a Grand Tour. So Wout Poels, Bahrain victorious, has got a shot here of winning stage 15. He's going full gas. What's happening in the peloton? Well, I told you Tom Pidcock was getting dropped. He's bombing down the descent. You see him shoot through the inside there. That's Chris Neelens. Neelens looks back. He knows he's got to move over. He does. And we know he's safe from the crash that he had earlier coming down to Arvez. And Tom Pidcock goes full gas. Now look at the other guy he passed. That's Felix. Felix there, Gall, is from AG2R, and he's got his hand up, which means he's got a mechanical. Remember, he went good on yesterday's stage 14, but he's got a problem here. He's going to lose some time on this stage when it's all said and done. Up front, the leaders are coming in here for the general classification hopeful. They'll shoot through the roundabout. They must have went the long way through the roundabout. Tom Pidcock went the right way. He made up time and lashed back onto the front group here, being led by UAE Team Emirates. Look just in front of them, though. It's Carlos Rodriguez. Carlos Rodriguez must have passed the fast way through the roundabout because he's got about a few second gap on the UAE train behind. You see Jumbo-Visma following it, but it's time for UAE Team Emirates to go to work. They're on the front pulling 100% for Tadej Pogačar. They'll wrap up Carlos Rodriguez. Up front, what's happening? Well, Wout Poels is still holding off Wout van Aert, and Soler is still up there. There's a host of other guys from the original Breakaway, but it's too confusing for me to remember, so let's get back into what's really happening. Well, it's UAE Team Emirates. They're going full gas. We got Rafael Micah on the front. He's going to go just under 5 kilometers to go. He gives one last big hard acceleration. We look at the back of the GC favorites. Bam! Jai Hindley's coming out the back. We got some GC favorites getting dropped now with Jai Hindley, Simon Yates. They're all coming out the back. But how does it happen? Well, you look, Carlos Rodriguez is still holding on for dear life. Adam Yates takes over. He's going full gas, and this will pop Carlos Rodriguez along with Sepp Kuss. These two drop back, but Carlos Rodriguez is still trying to dig. Now we're under 4 kilometers to go. Adam Yates is still pulling full gas on the front. Tadej Pogačar is locked on his wheel. Jonas Vingegaard's there, and like I said, Carlos Rodriguez is doing everything he can for Ineos to try to lock up a podium position on the general classification. Up front, Wout Poels is still going solo. Wout van Aert cannot bring back the rider from Bahrain victorious who's soloing up here and trying to win stage 15. Now we go further down. Tadej Pogačar starts to open up a gap to Adam Yates with about 4 kilometers to go. As he's opening up the gap, Adam Yates is pulling away. What's happening? There's all kinds of drama when you're sitting on the Chesterfield. Is Tadej Pogačar bluffing? Is he really hurting? Why isn't Adam Yates dropping back? I don't know as I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, but I believe this is a bluff here from Tadej Pogačar. So Jonas Vingegaard's sitting second wheel, and I'm thinking, Jonas, don't fall for it, man. Don't fall for it. I can't be 100% right, but I don't think Tadej Pogačar is hurting, because if he was hurting, Adam Yates would come back, right? Adam Yates' job is always to look after Tadej Pogačar, not go solo up the road. I think it's a trick. Well, Jonas Vingegaard's back there. He believes the same thing I do. As Tadej Pogačar slows up, Carlos Rodriguez comes back into the picture with 2 kilometers to go. Go up front to Wout Poels, who's solo, and he's coming around the last left bend. He's going to sit up, raise his arms in victory, and win a second stage here at the 23 Tour de France for Bahrain victorious. When we look further back, Wout van Aert will get second on the stage. What's happening with third? Well, Matthew Bergado's passing Soler as he's going up, and he'll get third on today's stage. Solerism is dropping back now. We see Adam Yates is going full gas. Adam Yates will bridge up to Marc Soler, and then the cameras go back to Tadej Pogačar as we see with Carlos Rodriguez catching back onto these guys with 2 kilometers to go. The Ineos rider goes to the front and starts pulling. Of course he is. He's trying to win the podium spot here at the Tour de France, not drop Tadej Pogačar or Jonas Vingegaard, but he's thinking if I can get time on Jai Hindley, who got popped earlier, I can round up and secure a podium here at the Tour de France, because we got a rest day tomorrow and an individual time trial after that. So Carlos Rodriguez doing everything he can. Then we start getting under a K to go. 900 meters, Tadej Pogačar throws in a vicious attack. Jonas Vingegaard locks solid onto the Slovenian's wheel. Tadej Pogačar will bridge up to his teammates Adam Yates and the Solarism. The Solarism's been in the break all day long, wasting energy all over the place. Now he could actually use it to help Tadej Pogačar. He pulls full gas there for Tadej Pogačar. Then Pogačar hits out hard with about 450 meters to go. Tadej Pogačar throws an acceleration. Jonas Vingegaard is locked onto his wheel still. The Slovenian cannot dislodge Jonas Vingegaard in the race leader's yellow jersey. With about 100 meters to go, we'll see Jonas Vingegaard throw in his own attack on Tadej Pogačar. They'll come out of the last bend. Jonas Vingegaard looks over his shoulder straight to the left there of Tadej Pogačar. And you know he says, okay, nobody's winning today's stage. I'll see you on stage 16 here of the Tour de France for the individual time trial as Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard cross shoulder and shoulder for 16th and 17th on the stage, about 6 minutes down. Just behind him, Adam Yates will come through. Carlos Rodriguez will do a solid ride here on stage 15. And then there'll be changes all over to the general classification in terms of time and position switches in the top 10, but 1 and 2, Tadej Pogačar, 10 seconds will separate them going into stage 16's individual time trial. Guys, today was exceptional stage. There was drama all kinds there at the end when Tadej Pogačar backed off the gas and let Simon Yates go up the road. I don't like the tactic, love the drama though when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield because I'm like, is he really hurting? I don't think he's hurting. I don't think he went to pull Jonas, but love the drama because you always got to ask yourself, if you can't win straight out with power, you got to try some other way. I would prefer if he just puts Simon Yates on the front, like I said yesterday in stage 14 on the butterfly effect, put Simon Yates on the front, have him drill it for 400 meters tops, 200 meters would be perfect, a full sprint, then accelerate off of Simon Yates' wheel. And if you can't drop Jonas Vingegaard at that moment, you know you guys are too even and you're just going to have to battle on the individual time trial on Tuesday's stage here of the Tour de France. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Tuesday's individual time trial is coming fast, so I want to make sure everybody's up to date with all the action and all the tactics that are happening. Today's stage, though, your homework, go back and watch it. It was magical. The Solarism, the Wout van Aertism, I don't know what you guys were doing. Jumbo-Visma, I don't know what you guys were doing. For a half a year now, you've said that these alpine stages are what's made here for Jonas Vingegaard. Yes, the stages today, the mountain climbs weren't as steep and long, but they were still big. Category 1 climbs all over the place, and you have 2 climbs at the finish of today's stage under 11.5 kilometers to go, and one's 10% for 2.7K. How much more help do you need, Jonas Vingegaard? You sent Wout van Aert up the road. Just bring him back, have him go full gas, ride the same tactics. If you are better, like you guys have been telling us for half a year, you'd have to drop him. Tadej Pogačar, a little bit of knucklehead tactics there, letting Adam Yates go instead of just having him blaze the pace up there so you can see if you can drop Jonas Vingegaard. But hey, I love the drama from the Chesterfield, so I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.